Hi everybody, it's Whitney from All the Shelves. Today I want to do a tag that is called Amy's Tea Book Tag. It's been going around. I have seen a few videos that have done it and I really like it, and I also really like her channel. It's called From the Dusty Bookshelf. She's just like really thoughtful about her book choices, and I really appreciate that in a booktuber. So the categories that she set up are all different kinds of tea, and I'm going to pair a book with a kind of tea. And since there are 10 different kinds of tea and 10 different book recommendations, I'm gonna just get started. The first kind of tea is Double Bergamot Earl Grey, a robust, deep, intellectual, and flavorful book. And for that category, I am going to pick The Crossing by Cormac McCarthy. This is my favorite Cormac McCarthy novel, and it might be in my top favorite novels of all time. I've read it 3 or 4 times. It's really difficult for me to read though, so often I will pick parts that I can read, but this is an emotional book. It's about a boy who finds a wolf near his home, and the wolf has been attacking his family's cattle, so they either need to trap and kill the wolf, or what he does, which is trap the wolf alive, and then he decides to lead it down across the border into Mexico. And it's just about his journey with the wolf and then his journey back, and how he interacts with his brother, who is also a prominent part of the book. And I chose it for this tag because it is certainly robust, it is very deep and intellectual, and at the same time, if you don't necessarily want to read it for its depth, you can also read it for its story, and it's a very powerful story just in its plot alone. But like always with McCarthy, the way that he uses language is just like unbelievably intense and complicated. The second type of tea that Amy has chosen is Tim Horton's Steeped, a book you read on the go that you come back to again and again, and for me that book is Winnie-the-Pooh by A. Milne. I didn't actually read this as a kid. I read this for the first time as an adult, but it is so sweet. It is so fun. You don't have to read it in order at all, and this book just sits on my bedside table, and if I'm feeling like lonely or I'm not having a great day, if I read a few pages of this, it will like always cheer me up. It's really funny too. It's a really funny book. So if you haven't read Winnie-the-Pooh, you should do it. It's like as funny as the adorable, lovely Disney movie, which I also like just really adore. So yeah, that's Winnie-the-Pooh. The third type of tea is Meyer Lemon, a tangy, fast-paced read, gone before you've fully savored the flavor, and for me that is The Killer Inside Me by Jim Thompson. Maybe you have seen film adaptations of this book. There have been a couple. The one that I'm most familiar with is the one with Casey Affleck, which I saw at Sundance, and many people walked out of that screening. It was so violent and like abhorrently sexist that people like just got up and walked out, and during the Q&A I remember a couple people like trying to chew out the director for it. And I think that that is completely right to do. I think it's completely right for the film and for this book. It is fast-paced, it's terrifying, it's from a serial killer's point of view, and he's just like cold, and he keeps trying to rationalize his behaviors, and it turns out that his rationalizations are just like mere mockery of the reader and the people that he is rationalizing it for. It is so good, this book. Look how many pages that I have dog-eared. That's how many pages like I'm interested in returning to, and in such a like gross, violent book that's saying something. The next type of tea is Chamomile Lavender, a relaxing, calming late night read, and for that I have chosen the Grasmere and L. Foxton journals. These are Dorothy Wordsworth's journals. Dorothy is William Wordsworth's sister, and she kind of sits on the sidelines while her brother and Coleridge like walk through the Lake District and like experience nature so beautifully, and she just like records little daily things that she is seeing, and they're very mundane, and sometimes she just gets into the minutia of daily life, like how much bread she baked, and you realize like how when there are these men who romanticize the landscape and this poetic lifestyle, there were women behind those men that were taking care of them to enable them to be able to write this poetry, and her journals are just as poetic, I think like brilliantly poetic, as her brother's published poems are. So this one is very relaxing and beautiful, and also I think underappreciated. The next type of tea is Lady Grey tea, a smooth, subtle, classic book perfect for a serene winter morning. Sometimes in the winter I want to read about the summer to take my mind off of the freezing cold that is going on outside. Actually today, as you can tell by the light, it's a beautiful day outside, but normally here in the winter it is gray and polluted and just like a bummer. So I like this book, Kirsten McCullers' The Heart is a Lonely Hunter. Even though it's about summertime for the most part, I think it's nice to read those kind of summertime books in the winter, and it is calming and subtle and kind of classic. The book has a lot of different characters and a lot of different perspectives, but kind of the heart of the book is a girl named Mick. It's a kind of a coming of age story, and it describes her relationship to her family and how much she's like connecting with classical music, even though in her family like they're very poor, so they don't have like access to classical music or a piano or anything. And she meets this mute man named Singer who takes a room in her parents' house, and they have like this really interesting relationship. The Heart is a Lonely Hunter is just a beautiful novel. I think it's perfect for the winter time. The next type of tea is Orange Pekoe, a popular novel that everyone's read, and for that I chose Jurassic Park. This is my combined Jurassic Park Lost World edition, but I love Jurassic Park. Like everyone around my age, I saw the movie a bajillion times, but since I was kind of young, my parents wouldn't let me go see the movie in theaters, so I was like, fine, I'll read the book, and I read the book like 3 times before I finally got to see the movie when it came out on VHS to rent, and then I just watched the movie every day. I feel like I traded off reading Jurassic Park and watching the movie and then like listening to the soundtrack. I like loved Jurassic Park. I mean, it's dinosaurs, it's violent, there's chaos theory. I like love Michael Crichton. I think there's nothing not to like about Michael Crichton. I've read like everything that he read in his lifetime. I'm not so crazy about posthumous publications, especially when like authors hadn't completely finished them and then someone else steps in. So I haven't read those, but Michael Crichton rocks, and Jurassic Park is like the most fun read ever. The next kind of tea is English Breakfast, a British classic, and for that I chose Villette by Charlotte Bronte. I love the Brontes from what I've read. Villette is one that maybe not as many people have read because, like, as you can see, it's quite thick, but it is very good. It's about a teacher and her relationship with an older man, which people speculate comes from Charlotte Bronte's actual life, but it's just very good. There's some dry parts in the middle, but it picks up again at the end, and it's kind of an exciting read for this kind of like British romance. The next tea is called Canadian Breakfast. It's a title that tastes a little like English breakfast, but reads like the New World, an early Canadian or American work. And I, like most ignorant Americans, know absolutely nothing about early Canadian literature, so I chose an early American novel called Ruth Hall, A Domestic Tale of the Present Time by Fanny Fern. And actually this book has a lot of similarities with Villette, which is why I chose it. It is also about a single lady trying to work and make her way in a world that does not encourage women to work. In this one she loses her husband and her baby, and so she goes into publishing and tries to make it as a writer, which was really fun to read as somebody who is interested in books and publishing. And I remember it being very plot driven too, so it was actually fun to read, which a lot of those early American novels are maybe not totally fun. They're more like educational and not really something you pick up in your spare time. But this one, let me assure you, Ruth Hall, it really is very good and fun to read. The next kind of tea is green tea, which is a healthy book that feeds your mind, and I chose Crossing to Safety by Wallace Stegner. This book is about a professor and his wife and their 2 friends, and they go off on a vacation together into the forest. I think it's yearly, if I remember. They have this like tradition to go off on vacation together. So being someone who is entrenched in academia and can relate to that kind of thing, and someone who has very close friendships and a husband who is not involved in academia, I really relate to this book, and I thought it qualified under the green tea category because it's not only enriching for your mind, but it's also like really good for the soul. It's just about really good people being good to each other, and in a lot of books that are about people having like their own selfish motivations and how they deal with villainy and evil in the world. This one is not like that. This one is just like, hey, bad things happen to good people, but good people can make good things from bad things. It's really, really sweet. So I really love Crossing to Safety by Wallace Stegner. I really need to read more by Wallace Stegner because this is actually the only thing that I've read, and I like absolutely love it, and I know he has a bajillion books, so I'm gonna get on that. And the last kind of tea is iced, a sweet summer treat brewed for the lazy, brief days of summer. For that, I've chosen State of Wonder by Ann Patchett, and I actually have the Powell's bookstore in Portland's indispensable version, which I got for a little while. I was subscribed to it until it became too expensive, but it's so beautiful. There's like the box, and then here I have the hardcover, and it's actually signed by Ann Patchett, which is so exciting to me because I love her and I have read everything that she has written. This book is about a woman who is trying to discover the drug for fertility, so she goes down to the Amazons to research this group of people down there who their elderly women are still able to get pregnant like well into, I believe, their 70s. I mean, I think they can get pregnant for a very long time, which to me sounds like absolutely miserable, but whatever. I guess people want to get pregnant late in life. I guess people want to get pregnant in general. But anyway, maybe too much about me, right? Anyway, I think that this one is beautiful for the summer because it's hot and it's sticky and it's in the Amazon, and it's also like exciting and feminist and just a wonderful book. This book got a lot of praise when it came out, and since then I haven't heard a lot of people talk about it, so I'd love if we could have like a resurgence of State of Wonder because it is just as good as Bel Canto, I think, her other book that gets a lot more praise. Okay, so that was Amy's tea book tag. Thank you to Amy for inventing this really cool tag, and it's my very first tag, so that's exciting too. I will link to her original video down below, and everyone should go check it out. And if you did this tag, please link your own video in the comments because I would love to see how you interpreted the different categories. So that's all for me, and I will talk to you later. Bye.